Welcome back to Denver and the StarCityGames.com Standard Open. I'm here at the sideboard with Timothy Bagen. Tim, thanks for joining us. Tim, as you saw on camera, advanced to 4-0 with Shapeanu. What are you at now? 5-0. 5-0. Undefeated with Shapeanu. Hasn't lost a game. Well, we're definitely going to take a look at this deck list. It has a lot of the elements that are kind of from the blue-white mid-range deck and the Delver decks, but you've obviously added in a few different cards.
Oh, no,
yeah, the first one being, obviously, Shapeanu itself, which, in case our viewers aren't aware, he has no other artifacts in the deck except for one Blightsteel Colossus. So a Master's Call, Blade Splicer token, or Inkmoth Nexus will always turn into an 11/11 Infect Trampling Indestructible creature.
Yeah.
That also happens to be a Golem. Yeah, that's...
Yeah,
it could matter.
It first strike.
You get first strike. So, you've won, I assume, almost every game with the Blightsteel Colossus. Have you had the Plan B?
No, I have not had the Plan B this deck yet.
So 10 games with Blightsteel Colossus so far. I guess just walk us through like the design of the deck from your standpoint.
Okay, so I went with the traditional blue-white mid-range because Blade Splicer and Restoration Angel has a lot of interactions. So like that kind of stuff can go manual speed if you can't get the Blightsteel out, or if you end up holding it. But between Blade Splicer, Snap, and Angel, like a lot of people just assume you're on Delver or some sort of blue-white mid-range. Sure. Because turn one always ends up as Ponder or something of that sort. You know what I mean? It's not that it has a weak point, but like Delver is a tough matchup for this deck.
Sure.
Easily. Because Snapcaster Vapor Snag can really bring the pain to this guy.
Okay.
So, but that's why I opted for 2 Mental Missteps in the top, and then 3 Apostle Blessings. Just if you can't play Blightsteel on 4, sometimes you want to play him on 5, just to give him that back between these two. So that can change the game. The Taxing Probe, always spying the hand to see what they could be playing can mean the difference between when you want to play it or not. Sure. And then I went with 1 Twisted Image because I was having a lot of problems with Blood Artist. So Blood Artist and Birds really, like, you make them pay for playing their early game. Yeah.
Well, I like all of that. The Apostle's Blessings were the cards that really stood out to me in the deck list I was looking at, because you basically have combined like a lot of the elements that the mono green Infect player has, is like just trying to make the game all about one turn while protecting it, with all of the good stuff Delver does, which we're all pretty familiar with the good stuff that Delver does.
Yeah. And I definitely went with the 2 Day of Judgments in the main, because with Blightsteel out, it's not affecting him, obviously. Sure. And then pod decks will like to flood the board. If they don't try to Zealous Conscripts, they'll try to flood the board, and Day of Judgment will take care of that nice and easy. You know what I mean?
We saw on camera players exactly how that game ended, right? It was just Plague Win.
Yeah, Plague Win them, and I'm just going to get you.
I assume Blessing is a reasonable defense against the Zealous Conscripts.
Yeah, that is my only defense against the Conscript. Otherwise, I've had worst case scenarios where I've had to Vapor Snag my own Blightsteel, but the one amass the components kind of helps
you get it back into the deck.
Yeah, you know, you draw your 3, and obviously he's going away. You know.
Yep. Okay. So. I mean, it seems like a strong deck because you've got all the angles covered. A lot of the good stuff is going on. I noticed you did go with Vapor Snag for your bounce spell. Since you're killing with the Blightsteel Colossus, did you consider just unsummon to make it like a little less painful on your own guys? It's
more. It also goes with this plan. You know what I mean?
Sure.
To go with the Angels and the
if you're trying to get
if I have to go in with damage, sometimes it can go turn 3 Blade Splicer, and if you don't have this as your turn 4, this is a reasonable turn 4 also. You know what I mean? So more damage equals, you know, putting the pressure on them.
Yeah, Restoration Angel is just one of the better attackers in the format. Your sideboard, a lot of the good blue and white cards we're familiar with. Yes. Obviously, Zombies is really popular right now, so you've got 3 Celestial Purges.
I was having a lot of problems with Zombies.
Yeah. 3rd Day of Judgment is excellent against all these 9-pod decks. There's a lot of green in the room. I imagine that's been pretty good.
Yeah.
And the other cards, though, are a little more interesting. Divine Offering. I like the look of that. I assume, what do you bring that in against? Like
Pikes, Delver that's playing Pikes or Swords. Any deck that's like green-red aggro is kind of gone in the format, but if they try to go turn 2 Sword,
that's very difficult. It's
always like, I can put myself ahead of where you're at. And then against any pod deck, it makes it work. And then also, this isn't the best removal for Blade Splicer Golem, but sometimes if they Phantasmal Image your Blade Splicer, or even if they Phantasmal Image this guy, just targeting it alone will mean the difference between getting him or not. You know?
Right, yeah. Divine Offering on a Golem token is nothing to be ashamed of in this format.
No, but I mean, like, hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. Yeah. You gotta win.
So the most interesting part of the sideboard is definitely the Spectral Flight and the 4 Geist of St. Traps.
Yeah.
Where are we bringing those in?
Okay, so we bring in the Geist-Sustain traps and the Spectral Flight. These 4 and this one go in for these 4 and this one. So if you have to plan B against Delver, sometimes going turn 3 Geist, if they can't stop him, can mean you can win the game usually. And just hooking the 1 Spectral Flight to almost any of your guys is a lot of pressure on Delver.
Yeah, especially since you're keeping in the blessings and whatnot to protect them from other things.
Yeah, exactly. So it can mean the difference.
I really like the Geist plan. It seems excellent because they're obviously in their sideboarding and in the way they play games 2 and 3, they're going to be assuming you're going for something turn 4, turn 5, and when you just take advantage of them tapping out to land the Geist essentially. Plus, he's just removal for their Geist, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's totally fine too.
Yeah, and I mean, there's no shame in having to play him as a Doomblade or a Murder against their own Geist essentially.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Most decks don't have that luxury.
No, and that's why I went with it. So.
All right, so obviously it's panned out well. You've mentioned that Zombies has been a tough matchup. What are the other matchups you're a little scared of?
Just Zombies and Delver are the 2 I'm really afraid of, because Zombies is really unforgiving with Blood Artists, because if I want a Day of Judgment on 4, sometimes that can mean like, oh, I'll take 7 damage or something, because if they go turn 1 Crawler, turn 2 Crawler, Duel, and then turn 3 Blood Artist, it's like, I don't know if I can take that much damage, you know?
And Messenger's obviously really resilient to that card too. So.
Exactly. Messenger's really resilient to Day of Judgment. Zombies is a tough one, but I mean, Zombies has a hard time playing around First Strike. Infect, I don't really fear too much. Mainboard Mental Missteps, First Strike Blade Splicers, like, they have a hard time against it. And the interaction between First Strike on your Blightsteel Colossus can mean getting through, even if they clone it.
That's interesting, yeah.
That's part of the tech.
I imagine a couple people have been caught by surprise to discover that he's a golem, right?
He's a first striking Blightsteel Colossus. So, it happens.
All right. Well, that's excellent. You've only got a few more rounds before you're in top 8 contention, so I don't want to jinx you or anything.
Thanks.
But hopefully we see you again.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for class, Tim.